is today? Today's the 16th.
Yeah.
I am at 17 movies for the year.
Oh, not bad.
Trying to keep up this
that's
time.
pretty good, yeah. One more than where we are. How about that?
It's a lot of work.
You're like, my children haven't seen me since Christmas, but, I'm going to hit that.
Brooke is supporting me. It's nice. She recommends watching a movie.
Oh, I thought you said work is supporting me. Like, I haven't been there at all. Yeah, the girlfriend is supporting you in this one. That's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really the year of editing for me. Like, I got to get it. I've put it off for like 2 years now. I got to get this film done. So I'm really trying to get it done by the end of the year, at least.
That's awesome.
It's going to be like a 3-hour rough cut of the film, which is just obscene. But there's some scenes we didn't even shoot that I was always like disappointed about, that I just couldn't get together, or the locations or whatever. But I'm just like, I probably can make it work without it since I have so much raw footage. So that's nice. So that's the goal. We'll see. But there's a lot of work to do on it.
I can't even imagine.
You know how I shoot. It's very guerrilla style. And then you're doing like a period piece. So like every single shot needs something. Like it's not just like the color's off, so you got to like change the coloring of your video. But like, you see something in the background. Like all of a sudden a satellite dish is back there and I didn't notice it. So like now that has to be covered up in some way or edited around. But that's like how every single shot out of like 2,500 shots or whatever is like. So yeah, it's kind of it becomes overwhelming. So you just got to do it a little at a time.
I guess we should talk about these movies.
Yeah, we can jump on it.
Welcome, everyone, to this latest edition of Aaron and Justin Talk Sequels. I'm Justin.
I'm Aaron.
And today we are talking about another movie Aaron fucking picked. You know how...
That's right.
You know it's a movie Aaron picked? Because it's depressing as fuck. There's somebody who's living a bad life. And I was going to start this podcast with a monologue from the first movie. Today we're talking about Bad Lieutenant, and then Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, New Orleans.
Yes.
These movies are good. The first movie features, spoilers, obviously, at the end of the movie, Harvey Keitel plays the lieutenant, and he has a breakdown in a church where everything just kind of all hits him, and he sees Jesus, and it's a really powerful scene, and I wanted to try to recreate it just because of how many kind of noises that he makes. Like, I thought I could mimic that. And so I pulled up the script, and it was a lot of improv.
So are you going to read from the original script, or are you going to read from what he said?
I kind of want to read from the original script, and I'm not going to act this out. I'm just going to read it. But
no, I want you to act it out, because I'm thinking like this is how this podcast should start. Like it'll just go from our theme music right into you doing this for the next minute or two.
Okay. Jesus, I forgive you. Lieutenant, me? I forgive you. You can't forgive me after what I've done. I've fucked up big time. I've been bad, real bad. Blowing out all of my levels.
Yeah.
Jesus, I forgive you. Jesus just stares at him, saying, I forgive you. Please don't forgive me. I've always hated you for that. The crucifix takes on a hallucinatory radiance. Taking that aura with him, Jesus comes down off the cross and moves towards the lieutenant, who is still kneeling at the altar. I forgive you. Why? Why can't you hate me? Hate me, please. Help me. Hate me, help me, hate me. I forgive you. Why, Jesus? Why me? Why can't I wash the ashes from my forehead? Year after year after year. And why am I still drunk on your blood? The taste of your flesh on my tongue. Worst of all, why can't I feel the nails in my palms, the spear in my side, the crown of thorns round my head? Why do I have to know over and over that it was you who died for my sins, and that I will die for nothing? Why? Jesus kneels down, knee to knee, face to face with the lieutenant. I forgive you. Why do I dream every night of the whore who brought you water on your road to your death? And why have I never forgotten that if she, then I... The lieutenant averts his eyes. When he looks up again, Jesus is back on the cross. The lieutenant rises, moves around the interior of the church. He stumbles, struggles, pleads, falls, rises, and falls again, as if wrestling with an invisible assailant. He collapses in a corner. Oh God, my God. It's goddamn good to be good. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's still goddamn good to be good. I forgive you. Epiphany. Blood Christ on the cross. Hallelujah. And that is it. Oh, no, wait. There's one last piece. No, that's it.
Okay.
The elderly black woman has the chalice.
Well, that's interesting. That scene is so much better for the fact that in the actual film, Jesus doesn't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just implied.
I wonder if Keitel is clearly committed as an actor, and I think that's the power he brings to his performances in most movies. But I wonder if he's also like stubborn, where Abel handed him the script and was like, "Here's the scene." And he goes, I'm not going to say that. but I'll give you something.
That script and that scene in the movie match what he was going for perfectly, which I think is fun in terms of the art of filmmaking. Like, those words are not in the movie, but it doesn't matter. We still watch this guy have that conversation, but through obviously a different means. And we get it that he's been forgiven and he feels forgiven by God.
I don't know if I
That's the
got
way I
that
took
he,
it.
yeah, I didn't feel like he was getting forgiven. I felt like the look on Jesus' face was just like, there's nothing I can do for you. And Keitel was like slowly realizing that, and he was like going through the stages of denial, or the stages of grief, whatever it is. Denial is one of them, and then
So Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah, Bad Lieutenant.
Harvey Keitel, Abel Ferrara film. I've never seen, I don't think, any other Abel Ferrara movie.
Did you ever see Body Snatcher? What was it called? Was it just called Body Snatchers? It's called Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I saw the good Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland. Never saw the 90s version.
Yeah, so they did the original one in like the 50s, and then the remake in the 70s, and then they got Ferrara to do his first like Hollywood movie, and that was the remake of the Body Snatchers in the early 90s. I don't think I've ever seen it either, but I always remember being captivated by the poster and always wanting to see it. And then it was a surprise to me that he actually directed it. I had no idea.
Oh, he directed it immediately after this. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of the 70s Body Snatchers. It freaked me out.
Yeah, that's a good one. In that version, the guy who starred in the first one, I can't remember his name, but he appears in that movie as one of the screaming guys that comes in at the end. And it's just like, they're everywhere. He's the guy that falls on the car. He's the guy that starred in the original version.
That's funny.
Because I like to think that he's still the same character from that original movie that has been trying to tell people for 20 years now, and nobody's listened to him, and he still pops up in 1978.
Oh, just looking at that poster, I've seen this movie like in video stores 100 times.
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was always just burned in my memory of seeing that VHS cover or whatever poster.
It always looked just a little dirty to me, so that was kind of boring.
But I never watched it.
Now I probably will. Even though, given this film that we're talking about, Bad Lieutenant, I'm guessing all of these movies are a bit dark.
A little bit. The other one I've seen of his is King of New York with Christopher Walken. And he's like a mobster kind of thing, and he gets back from prison, and Lawrence Fishburne's in it, and Wesley Snipes, and David Caruso, and it's got a good cast, and Christopher Walken doesn't have to do much. The thing about Abel Ferrara, the director, that I like and why I like Bad Lieutenant is because he films everything very off the shoulder. Everything just seems like, I think even for Bad Lieutenant, they didn't really get permits or anything. They just kind of showed up places and just started shooting, which I love, especially when you have a Hollywood actor with you and you still do that. But he's just, for me, his movies may not be perfect or really much to them, but he's just a master of mood. Like, he shows me, wow, if I was a corrupt cop, this is exactly how I would feel in early 90s New York. What do you know? So that's why I like his movies, and that's why I chose Bad Lieutenant. So I don't find it as bleak. Like, I know it's a bleak story, but I just don't get that feeling the way I felt like watching Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream. Remember that? Because that's all about, like, the music is what really gets to you. It's the editing and the music. So, like, it's so bleak. But if you take all that extra sensory stuff out of the movie, it's probably not, it doesn't feel that way to you. And that's how this is. Like if Ferrera was more of an editor where it was like quick cuts and da 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 da, and like Keitel's like snorting and coking and like heroin and injecting himself, and then he goes on to the next thing and it's all quick, then you would feel that. And then I'd be like, I'm not watching this movie ever again. But like watching it for this podcast was probably like the 5th or 6th time I've watched it. Probably in the past like 3 years. I don't know why. I just find it endlessly watchable.
That's so fascinating to me. Like the movies that people can go back to over and over. I'm going to have a hard time ever watching this again. And this was the first time I've ever seen it. It's just very bleak is my best way of, but Harvey Keitel is amazing.
Yeah, he's good in it.
He makes it so watchable. If this was a different actor, I don't know if I could have made it through the movie.
It was supposed to be Christopher Walken, but he pulled out a couple weeks before they started shooting, I guess. And he was just like, I just don't think I'm right for this movie. That's what he told him. Although I'd love to see his version. I mean, wouldn't that be interesting?
Speaking of versions, we saw 2 different cuts of this film.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I guess I should have mentioned that.
So I saw the rated R version, which I guess should have been good enough, but there is a unedited version because Aaron's version had sex and it had Harvey Keitel's dong.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to experience any of that. I was like, where's the dong through this entire movie?
Right, and it's there.
So, like, I have this thought in my head. Like, so yours was basically NC-17.
Yeah, maybe.
And then we go down. Well, it originally was NC-17, and they had to make it an R version.
I think that's what I saw, because I'm not sure I saw, like, his Vision version either. I don't know if the word sex is just a catch-all for, like, the crazy stuff that they had to cut in order to get an R, because there's no sex in the version I saw necessarily. There was, like, a woman who was naked and another woman who was clothed, who was like gyrating against her. It was some weird lesbian foreplay, and then it cuts to him and he's naked. So yeah, he's doing his weird moaning, and you see his little dick swinging at the bottom of the screen. And then it cuts to him with the girl who was getting gyrated against. She's still topless, he's topless, and they're dancing together. That's it. Like he doesn't actually have sex with anybody though, and then even when the nun gets raped, it's all done in quick cuts, and nothing shows anything. So I don't know if there's a more NC-17 version than that.
I'm guessing there's not. So, like, I don't think I had any boobs. I don't think I had any nudity at all.
You definitely had an R version, that's for sure, from what I watched.
And then the nun is just, there's a lot of insinuation is what this changes to.
Yeah. Oh, and she's naked on a exam table. Did they show that?
That is in the R.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's in there.
Because that's very, yeah.
It's more medical and clinical in that way, so I guess they wouldn't cut that. Yeah. It wasn't violent or anything.
Yeah, the film review boards don't give a crap about that kind of nudity.
Yeah, you can be nude
Yeah.
in a movie, but you can't be nude in a drug house, and you can't be nude in a sexual way, I guess. Then they'll chop you.
I am sure, without a doubt, that Abel originally wanted an erect penis.
Oh, for sure. And that's why Harvey Keitel was moaning and angry in that way, because he just, I'm an actor. This should work on command. I can cry on command. I thought I could get hard on command. I can't. Ah!
So yeah, we saw 2 different versions, and I had this thought, like, the PG-13 version cuts out the drug use.
Good God, why
the
even?
PG version
Yeah,
turns into an episode of, like, Law and
yes,
Order.
for sure.
And it's interesting.
And the G version is animated, and he has a little animal friend that appears to only him and gives him advice.
They solve crimes together.
Yep, they solve crimes together.
Awesome. So Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah. When did this come out? 92. Wow, that was forever ago. 20 years. I'm sorry, 30 years.
30 years ago.
What the hell year is this? 30 years ago.
And how long is it? It's 96 minutes. It's almost too much time. No, 96 minutes is perfect.
No, it's perfectly
But
fine.
it felt
Did it feel long to
like
you?
a very long movie. Yes.
Well, we get right into it
because-
with Harvey Keitel. He doesn't even have a name. He's just known as the lieutenant. And he drops his kids off to school, and he's already swearing in front of him. He's like, shut the fuck up. So it's like he's already dad of the year. And then, like, right when he drops them off at their Catholic school, he's like, all right, let's go hit up the gambling, and then I got to do the coke, and I got to hit up, my drug friends and stuff like that. So he's just like, he's living in that world where he's lost in drugs and money and all that. He hates his family. He clearly has no relationship with his wife. His mother-in-law lives there too. He can't stand her.
I did not think that was his wife. It seemed like his mom and his sister.
Oh, no. Yeah,
because
I didn't see that.
He specifically talked to the kids, and they were like, Aunt was in the bathroom. Well, if she's in the bathroom, then you tell her to get the fuck out of there, or I'll do it. I'll tell her to get the fuck out of there. You tell me next time.
Whenever I saw that older lady, I thought that was his mother-in-law, because she was always looking at him like, you're messed up, and you're trouble, and you're bad for this family, but she never would say anything. But I guess in that car scene, the way they were talking about their aunt, I guess I was thinking about her, that was the aunt. But now I don't know. You might be right. If that woman, the younger woman, like Keitel's age, maybe that was his sister. What the hell? Would he really be living with his family?
I don't see this guy having any attachments. I see him knocking up women and his his sister taking care of the kids because he can't, because he's on drugs. It's the way I see it.
That's not as bad now. Like, he doesn't have a family he's putting at risk. He's just, or his own family in that way. Like, it's his immediate family, so it's not as dangerous.
I mean, they're definitely his kids, but that's...
Yeah. And then, like, his bookie
So
later
kind
would
of
say
a
how
piece of
he, like, right? Like, he was telling him, like, this guy's going to kill your family. You know, it's the old gambling debt thing. You start racking up the thousands of dollars, you can't pay it. The bookie's always going to kill you, but not just you. He's going to go after your family, too. So, I don't know. Maybe that guy just doesn't know if he has a family or not. But that's how I took it. That was his wife, who he has no relationship with, can't stand her. And those are his kids. Doesn't even know how to be a father to, and he's just doing his own thing.
I think I counted a total of 4 kids. I think I saw 2 boys, 2 girls. One was a baby. It makes it just even more sad about his life.
There's not a lot of story to this. It's really just him and his days getting fucked up. The thing that drives throughout the movie, or that comes back to him throughout the movie, is that he's betting on the Dodgers-Mets national championship game. And I always lose track of who's doing what, but I feel like he's always betting on the Dodgers, and they're losing horribly every game. So he's just racking up the debt.
Okay, so wait, real quick. The script says wife.
I just assumed.
The whole movie is about this guy gambling at the World Series.
It's the championship before the World Series. It's the national championship.
Yes. Well, like, in the script, we're talking the World Series between the Mets and the A's. And they've got Canseco on the A's and Strawberry still in with them. Oh, still with New York.
Come on.
Anyway, like, that's the big page 2 of this script. And the script is broken down each day and which game is on that day. Like, first page is day 1, game 3, Lieutenant wins. And so, like, we have him running around and he's gambling. But if I've watched the movie correctly, tell me if I'm wrong, he's also making bets for his coworkers, but he's not actually making bets. He's just taking their money and betting it in his name too.
Yes.
And he keeps talking his coworkers into keep continuing to bet.
Yeah, because he's clearly betting on the Dodgers, who are down and are losing. But when he goes and talks to his friends, he's just like, I told you about the Mets, didn't I? I told you it was a good bet on the Mets. Let it ride. Let it ride. And then they go to him and he talks to his bookie and he puts more money on the Dodgers.
Yes.
So if the bookie's not going to kill him at the end, the cop friends are.
Yeah, like he's putting himself in a no-win situation because he just keeps losing.
Yeah, huge hole he's digging for himself.
But the funny part is he keeps giving his friends good advice. He keeps helping everybody else make a good decision, but he's the only one not capable of making good decisions. And we see that over and over, and it's fun.
Yeah, because I think in his vision, he thinks there'll be a bigger reward if he risks more. Like, that's his life. And the film is very clear to say, that's not how life works. Because it's not like he doesn't understand. You're saying it right there. He gives a bit good advice. Like, he knows it, but he wants to be more risky because he wants, for whatever reason, I don't know. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you going to buy more drugs? What's his goal? What's his end goal here to win all that money? I don't know. It's just the idea of winning, I guess, is what thrills him.
He's hanging out with the women.
Yeah, that like the drug house type thing.
Yeah, and he has the implied sex, and he's downing a bottle of vodka. Yep. My version cuts to him walking to a liquor store, and there's a dispute.
Right, and he takes the money. He lets the kids go who like tried to steal it, but he got because he's using his place as a cop to snatch things, snatch drugs, and snatch money.
He's just a bad guy.
And then where nobody's looking. But the thing is, there's every cop is bad in their own way, at least in this version of New York, and maybe the real version at this time.
Yes.
And maybe still today, I'm sure. Where he's one of the worst, but nobody's gonna prosecute him because everybody's bad in their own way. But the big thing that aside from the gambling that runs throughout is that there's a nun at a Catholic church that gets raped, and everybody is suitably distressed about that because she was a nun.
Yeah.
And he's not too caught up in that at the moment. He's still just kind of doing his druggy and gambly stuff, but it comes back to it every once in a while.
This kind of it rinses and repeats over the course of the few days. Was he ever a good cop? He knows all these people, and these people respond to him. No, because I feel like only the bad people respond to him, and he only knows the bad people.
Well, he got money from a property room, is what it looked like. Or money. He got drugs from a property room, and he gave it to a drug dealer, and the guy's like, I'll give you the money later. So he's like, yeah, okay. And that's the one person he goes back to later in the movie to get the money, and it's $30,000. And he goes into the apartment, and the guy's so friendly to him, and his family knows him. And the mother, I assume that's the kid's mother. She talks to him, and she hands him pills, and it's just this home life. But they're all I don't know, they're all mobsters in their own way or something. It's very strange.
Yes, Ferreira does a really good job of making it clear that even the drug dealers have families. Even the drug dealers treat each other with respect. He treats these people as not a cliche, but real people that you would care about. And how when you commit a crime, it doesn't magically make you a bad person. It just makes you a guy that commits crimes for a living.
Yeah, it's all, that's what I said about Ferreira, is that he's just a real master of mood, and that he really puts you into this world. It seems like the city is just that way, and in order for you to survive, even if you're just a good family, you got to be drug dealers. It's the only way to get around, because the world is just horrible where you live. So, we could really wrap this movie up pretty quick, I think. I think one of the most infamous scenes that I remember hearing about is when he pulls over those two girls at a traffic stop and, masturbates while they imitate.
In my version, promptly lets them go.
Yeah. Well, he talks very improv, but he's just where are you going tonight? Where are you going? Oh, it's your daddy's car? Do you think your daddy would want to know that you're out here? They don't even have licenses. They're probably 15. They're too young to drive. And he's let me see your ass. Let me see your ass. So the passenger has to pulls her pants or skirt up. He talks to the driver, and he's just you ever suck a guy's cock? Show me how you do it. Show me how you do it. Show me how you do it. And it just goes on. And so she imitates it. Doesn't really do it, but imitates it. And then once he gets done, he zips up and walks away. And that was it. But I just remember hearing about that as a young man, oh, you got to see Bad Lieutenant because it is just fucked up. So I thought it went a little further than what I saw, but kind of her not actually performing that on him made it even worse, in that he just humiliated them in this way and then just walked away. It was like he was at the point of no return after that, I felt. Because he was actively injuring other people now, in some mental way, where it was really just he's doing this all to himself until that point.
It's an interesting way of thinking about it, and I would have to rewatch it to know.
So he gets that $30,000 to the drug dealer, and that's the exact amount of money he could use to pay off his debt. But he lets it ride, double or nothing, puts another 30 on the game, and I think he loses another 60, and then I think he calls the bookie himself, or he calls the main bookie, whatever, because the guy that was doing it for him was I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not gonna put you 120,000 in the hole, or however much it would be, 120, yeah. So he calls it himself, and he's really a real dick about it. I felt like at that, this guy's gonna kill him. The bookie doesn't want to be talked to that way.
And so the bookie tells him to meet him down in front of Madison Square Garden after the game, or before the game, and they'll work it out then.
I also like how the game was a real character in the movie. He would come back to it, and he would talk about Strawberry all the time. Darryl Strawberry on the Dodgers. And he was just fuck you, Strawberry.
Yes, if I didn't know about baseball.
I thought that's the part you would like, because I know you're a big baseball fan.
Yeah, and I understood it. I was getting into it. I don't know if it dates it, though, because using real baseball players kind of puts this in a very specific time and place.
But I think that's important for New York in the early 90s. It adds to how shitty everything was at that point. So I think it's okay. But the game was actually fictional. They edited different playoff games together to kind of create this national championship because it wasn't real.
That was one thing I didn't look at. Like, it wasn't?
No, they just said, like, the Dodgers and the Mets clearly played, so they would just use some of that footage. But they made up their own version of the national championship game that went to 7 games. But I thought he had a very good point, and I never thought about that before, where he was just like, look, you got New York team versus LA team. You got the whole country watching this national championship. You know how much money the networks are going to make off this thing? They're going to go to 7 games. Of course they're going to go to 7 games. And I was like, he's probably got a point.
Except, yeah, all logics. Because the Dodgers were up 3-0. And then in this fictional, the Mets went on to win the next 4 games, taking it. And it was something that just doesn't happen. And so he's telling his coworkers, bet on the Mets. It's great.
Right.
And then if they bet on the Mets, they lose because obviously the Dodgers are going to win. So he's taking all their money, betting it on the Dodgers, who should logically win. And then he was setting it up so that if he won, all of his friends are going to lose, and they're going to lose their money and they'll never miss it. It's actually a pretty good little con.
Yeah, so this all really, I mean, he has another woman that's shoots him up with heroin, and she's actually Zoe Lund, and she apparently co-wrote the film with Abel Ferreira.
Yeah.
And then he has that infamous breakdown scene in the church that you so eloquently performed for us at the beginning of this podcast. And that Jesus vision he's seeing turns out to be a woman holding a gold chalice. And it immediately cuts, like, she's like, what the fuck? You know, basically, like, this guy's freaking out. But immediately cuts to him back in lieutenant mode, walking with her away from the church. And she clearly states, like, this was in my husband's pawn shop brought by these 2 guys. So it's the chalice from the church that was stolen during the rape of the nun scene.
Yes.
So he knows exactly where to find the 2 guys that raped the nun. And a little bit about the nun is that he's trying to basically tell her, I will avenge you. Like, I want justice. But the nun is so nunnish that she's already forgiven the kids and doesn't want any part of it.
Like, let's back up one step. So this nun gets raped, and it's a big crime, and they put up a $50,000 reward. Harvey Keitel is so desperate for money, so he starts working the case just so he can get the reward. And he's working the nun and trying to get her to give up the names, and she refuses. And when she refuses the last time, when they're talking in the church, that's when he snaps and he's like, okay, my life's over. I'm not going to be able to pay this guy. Has a breakdown, sees Jesus. Then we switch to the woman in the cup, and all of a sudden he has hope.
There's no legal way he would get that money. The cops aren't going to collect the reward.
No, I'm sure he would have just had one of his stooge friends do it or something.
Yeah, because I didn't see the money as being on his mind. I really felt like he wanted to save the nun in some way. That it was the one thing that he felt might redeem him in Jesus' eyes, is that he helps the nun.
Maybe.
But the money might have been in the back of his mind too. But I'm sure that it's kind of the way, like, if he needs drugs, he can somehow get it from the property room. Or snatch it. He tried to snatch it out of the back seat of a car.
Yes, that was.
But he was so fucked up, he dropped it out of his coat. So then everybody standing around see this coke fall on the ground. He's just like, "Oh yeah, I just found this in the car. Put that as evidence, you know." And then he has to walk. And he's like, "Fuck."
Yeah, you're probably closer to right that he wants to.
You could be too. It could have something. I mean, I think that $50,000 when they first spoke about it, the reason they even mentioned it is because it was a lot of money, and I think it probably pricked up his ears in some way. So it might have been in the back of his mind, I guess.
Because to make it the ending make sense, you have to be closer to being right. Because he goes and he finds the guys that raped this nun, gives them the $30,000 that he got from the drug dealer, and forces them to get on a bus and leave the city.
Yeah, because the city's no good, and if they stay, they're just going to be fucked up for the rest of their lives. So he can't save the nun, but he can save the 2 boys that raped her that she had already forgiven, and they were just really kids, even though they did this horrible thing. I don't know. Why would he do that? To me, it just felt like one more bad move on his part, but thinking he was doing something finally. You know, like I'm helping in some way. I'm saving these guys' lives. It's a bizarre ending, but I kind of liked it.
Oh yeah,
I've always was just like, he just handed them $30,000. Like, that could have saved his life. Like, it certainly wasn't anywhere near what he owed.
Yes,
but it could have been a start.
He was absolutely sacrificing himself for these boys. Yeah, it probably wasn't a smart move. He's not a smart man.
No, and they should pay for their crime, of course. So it's not like, sorry, boys will be boys, you know?
Yeah, they did rape her with a crucifix.
They did a horrible thing. But, you know, she was also a nun, and she had the power of Christ helping her forgive them. So it's very, yeah, it's hard to pinpoint the right move here. But it does seem like they should have paid for the crime. However, it was a good ending that he let him go with the money.
And then he pulls up in front of Madison Square Garden to meet with the bookie. He meets with the bookie. He explains what's been going on, and the bookie understands. And he gives him about 30 additional days to pay his debt, and then the scene just cuts to black.
30 days? I mean, how gracious is that offer? It's just insane. Usually it's like 2 days, I'm breaking your kneecaps if you don't.
He was very civilized. He said if he didn't pay him after the 30 days, he was going to file an injunction with the court and try to go after his taxes.
And then he hands him a card, and he's just like, look, I know you're having some trouble. I was an alcoholic for years. You go to Narcotics Anonymous, you go to Alcoholics Anonymous. Here's the name of my sponsor. He's really good. Look him up. And Harvey Keitel's like, you know what? I will. And then it cuts to black. It's amazing.
Yeah.
No, in the real world, he pulls up in front of Madison Square Gardens, and he's sitting in his car. And this is another one of those things where I don't think anybody around knew that this was a movie, that this was happening. Because their honest reactions, or their reactions to it are very honest. But a car pulls up next to him and says, hey, cop! And then apparently he looks over, but it's kind of obscured by the car. And then you just hear gunshots, and Harvey Keitel's dead, and the car drives away. So it's just blood on the window. Yep. And everybody walking around Madison Square Gardens are, like, reacting to this. They're just like, what just happened? Is this real? You know? And it's just fucked up, man.
And they're holding on there so long.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a long shot with all these people, and you watch all these people, and you're right. I think it's how I would react. Like, if I saw somebody that was clearly dead, like, I couldn't help them because there's clearly a bullet hole in their head. Like, I would be gaping. I would be walking. I'd be gossiping with the people around me. Like, oh my God, did you see this?
And there's certainly those people that just continued on their way. I got a place to be, and I don't want to get caught up in this. Like, this is going to be like hanging around with the police and taking statements. And I'd rather I don't want to deal with it. I think that's so real about people. Like, there's just all those different kinds of people. And one woman was very like, pointing to it, like trying to get someone's attention, like, what, is anybody seeing this? Like, we should call somebody, right? Although we could be wrong. Maybe everybody was maybe they were all extras, but I doubt it. I just feel like it was just something they shot, and then probably had to tell everybody afterwards. That was just a movie. When Harvey Keitel sits up and goes, just kidding.
So yeah, this movie comes out. It cost $1 million ish. It made about $2 million ish, so that's a success.
Nobody really knew about it, but the critics saw it. You know, I mean, even Ebert loved it. He gave it.
Oh yeah.
Scorsese, yeah, says it's one of the best movies of the 90s. It was on his list of like the top 10 films in the 90s. I mean, it's a very Scorsese film. See, the difference between Ferrera and Scorsese is I think they make the same kind of movies sometimes, but Scorsese has a way of making them Hollywoodish. He makes them popular, whereas Ferrera does the same kind of movie, but nobody really watches it except for the initiated and the fans of his work.
Scorsese's got a different eye.
Yeah, he's got style.
His movies are always so pretty.
But I appreciate Ferrera's off-the-cuff guerrilla style, too.
Good movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I respect it. Again, we'll probably never watch it again.
That's fine. You don't have to.
And that's it. He went on to have a great career, and that's the end of the episode. Nothing else to talk about.
Oh, wait, there's a sequel, but there's not a sequel. And there's a remake, but there's not a remake.
Oh! Yes.
Look, I gotta be honest, because maybe people are asking. I just really wanted Justin to watch the Bad Lieutenant films, because I love them. I love the first one, but I also love Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, the Nicolas Cage film, maybe even more. It's one of my favorite movies. I just love this ride. So I was like, yeah, I know it's not a sequel necessarily, but it does kind of follow the same storyline. So you could almost think of this as an anthology film. Like, this is a new version of A Bad Lieutenant, and it has the same title, mostly because the producer was the same, and he wanted to call it that, even though the director, Werner Herzog, did not, but he was overruled. So I was just like, I'm considering it a sequel, so let's do this podcast on Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah, we are. This narratively unrelated is the best way of talking about it. But yes, they share the name, so
yes,
it counts.
I say it counts.
And it's because of that terrible bad name that I think I have no idea. I would have never watched this movie without you forcing me to.
I remember it coming out in 2009 and everybody was talking about it. You don't remember that at all?
It's so good.
Yeah,
No,
it was just it was another, because Nick Cage hadn't done, he went up, he's up and down in this century. So like he hadn't done anything really too much of note lately. Like I think maybe Adaptation had come out around this time, so there was that. Where like, oh, Nicolas Cage is just trying again. But I think the one he did before this was like the Ghost Rider movie, and everybody was shitting on that. So like it was like a celebration of Nick Cage. Like, oh, he's really good in this film. You got to see it. And then there was that thing that everybody kept calling the Lizard Cam, and that it was directed by Werner Herzog, who, is known for doing crazy movies. He's a German filmmaker, and he does so many documentaries. But it's kind of a event when he actually does a real straightforward narrative film. Yeah, I remember hearing about it. So I think I saw it pretty much around the time it came out because I was excited for it.
This is pre-Ghost Rider. Yeah, because he has such a long period.
Is it pre-Ghost Rider? I was pretty sure Ghost Rider came out right around this time.
Unless
there was a sequel to Ghost Rider.
That's part 2. Okay, no, it was in between the Ghost Riders. Okay. So, like, yeah, he was definitely in a down point. So, 2005, Nicolas Cage. We've got Lord of War and The Weatherman back-to-back. Both awesome movies. The Weatherman is one of my favorites. And then we've got The Ant Bully, World Trade Center, The Wicker Man, Ghost Rider, Grindhouse, Next, and then National Treasure Book of Secrets. He made that many movies. 7 movies in 2 years.
Yeah, mostly fairly forgettable, but a couple of them are okay.
He makes another 7 movies over the next 2 more years. This and Kick-Ass are the only 2 I recognize. Have you seen Kick-Ass?
Yeah, I liked that one.
Yeah, he's good in it.
Yeah, I mean, he's in that beautiful space that we've learned for aging actors in our generation where they can make paycheck movies, but they're pretty much always good in what they do because it's just inherent in them to be good actors, even though they're shitty movies. But then the big filmmakers can always call them up and have them star in their movies. Like, it's totally fine. Okay. Bruce Willis is like that. Val Kilmer, Eric Roberts, even to a lesser degree, but still, they're one of those. De Niro, Pacino. There's still those guys that don't do great films all the time, and they really just earn it for the money or do it for the money. But Scorsese would still call them up.
Willis, Cusack,
totally, just like that.
Post 2010, I'm gonna run through these real quick. Season of the Witch, Drive Angry, Seeking Justice, Trespass, Ghost Rider Part 2, 1,000 Words, Stolen, Can't Stop Losing You, The Croods, The Frozen Ground, Joe, Rage, Outcast, Left Behind, Dying of the Light, The Runner, Pay the Ghost, The Trust, Dog Eat Dog, Snowden, USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage, Army of One, Arsenal, Vengeance, A Love Story, Inconceivable, Mom and Dad, Mandy. Let's see, we get to 2018. Everything I read was between 2011 and 2017. Like that's
a lot of movies, man.
I've seen maybe 2 of those. But then we get 2017. He has Mom and Dad as the one good one.
Heard about that.
Mandy in 2018. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. A bunch of stuff in 2019 that I don't really recognize.
I like The Croods, and then even like the Spider-Verse, it's just, I'm doing 5 shitty movies, but you want me to be in the Spider-Verse? Sure. And everybody's going to watch that.
And now, like, 2021, I feel like we talked about this filmography before.
Yeah, we have.
Because he did Willy's Wonderland and Pig in 2021, and those were both good. We're in the years of weird Nick Cage, and he's starting to re-attract Hollywood.
Color Out of Space, and a couple of those things that are standout ones for him.
So anyway, Bad Lieutenant, they make a sequel. And it stars Nicolas Cage.
Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, which is really saddled with a bizarre title, but okay.
Bizarre title, originally just called The Bad Lieutenant, which would have been so much better.
Which I think is what people mistakenly call the first movie, but that's just called Bad Lieutenant.
And how did the original director of the first movie react to this sequel getting made?
He couldn't have been happier. He was a consultant on it. I heard he bought him donuts and bagels for the first day, and flowers for Nick Cage. No, they asked Ferreira about this movie that was coming out, and it seemed to be a direct sequel to his, directed by Werner Herzog, the famous German filmmaker who's made a lot of movies and documentaries and acting in his day. And Abel Ferreira was like, I hope they all die in hell. I hope they're on, because he heard it was in New Orleans, so he's like, I hope they're on the same trolley and it explodes or something like that, or they die on the same trolley in a fireball or something.
Wikipedia has the quote as far as remakes go, I wish these people die in hell.
Yes.
I hope they're all in the same streetcar and it blows up.
Thank you for allowing me to massacre the quote, and then you just are like, here it is verbatim. Shit, I said trolley instead of streetcar. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Werner Herzog.
I don't know, Werner.
the
You don't have to
director.
say it with an accent. I always just started saying Werner. It's
Werner
spelled Werner, but he's
Herzog.
German, so I'm fairly certain it's Werner.
You will all know him as the guy who tried to buy Grogu in The Mandalorian.
Yes, the client.
Yes, he was the initial client that sent The Mandalorian after the baby. That's the guy that directed Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
I also saw him as an actor in the Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise, the first one.
Oh.
Yeah, he was the
Was he
bad.
in
He was
that?
the
I love
bad guy
that.
in that.
I'm going to have to watch that again. I'm a big fan of the Werner.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of voice work because it's so funny. Like, he's made films since the late 60s, early 70s, really art house stuff, huge things in German, and then has gone on to make like 100 documentaries, really famous things. Grizzly Man, he put that movie together. He's done crazy things, and then he's appeared on like American Dad, Family Guy, The Simpsons, Mork and not Mork, what is it, the Marty Doc show, what the hell's that called?
Are you talking about Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty, thank you. I was calling him Mork and Mindy, but that's not it. Yeah, he's done Rick and Morty. He just pops up as like voice acting on all these cartoons and shit. It's so funny that this is the guy. But he gets out there, and he said he never watched a Star Wars movie, but he liked the script, so that's why he agreed to be in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, he's delightfully kooky.
Yeah, I love this guy. I really like Werner Herzog, and I've made an effort to watch his early films. So I've seen Fitzcarraldo, which came out in '82, and Nosferatu, the vampire, his remake of the original Nosferatu. And what else did I watch? Well, I watched his documentary about the star of those movies, Klaus Kinski, called My Best Fiend, about their tumultuous relationship. They made 5 or 6 movies together, and you'd know him if you saw him. He's like a Nick Cage. He was like the Nick Cage of his day, like where he could do award-winning films, mostly with Werner Herzog, and then also just do so much shit as well. I think he died like early 90s, so it was really like 70s to 90s is when he was active. But he was a crazy fucking actor. Like, he just was a fucking crazy guy that no one would ever put up with in this generation and where we are now. But he's just like, he's got a weird look, and he's just a real committed and method actor. And him and Werner Herzog, I mean, I think like he like maybe shot at him once. Like, they would come to blows often. They just fucking hated each other, but they would always come back and work together like they were weird best friends. So anyway, but Fitzcarraldo, I wanted to point out, he plays a guy in South America who wants to build an opera in the jungle. So that's his goal. So in order to get the money to do it, there are rubber trees that are accessible only by river in South America. But the way to get there, there's too many rocks and rapids that no ship can get there. So there's this untouched amount of rubber that can be taken from these rubber trees that would be worth a fortune if somebody could just get a boat there. So he gets a crew together on this barge. They sail down the river, and then they have to move the barge over a mountain to the other side so they can get ahead of the rapids in order to get all that rubber tree, and then they'll be able to bring it back. So the way Werner Herzog shoots this movie about this guy moving a barge over a mountain is that he has people move a barge over a mountain and shoots it. That's how he puts the movie together. Now, they had a little help where I think they used like a dump truck, or not a dump truck, but like a big plow truck, whatever. And they kind of would like push the boat sometimes, but they really had to build everything. They had to build, and they used all these natives, and they just built this thing to raise this boat over a mountain. It was the most incredible film for that reason that I had seen, but it's just really fucked up and a really crazy story. But that's like Werner Herzog, and that's his commitment to making movies, is that he would often make his characters do exactly what the characters were supposed to do in the movie, like in real life, and then just shoot it.
I really like him in The Mandalorian. I don't have a lot of experience with his films. So yeah, he goes and he makes this movie, and it's also really good.
Yeah, I liked it. You like it?
This is better than the first one.
Yeah, I knew you'd like this one more. So, we had to get through the first one, but I knew like if you watched that one, you would appreciate Nick Cage in this one.
It's a story of contrasts with these two movies, and it's so interesting to me. Without having seen the first one, I don't think I would have appreciated this one quite as much. Like, if you just go out and saw Bad Lieutenant starring Nick Cage, it's a movie and you're kind of done. But when you watch the movies side by side, you get just such contrasting dynamics between the two. The biggest thing is where this movie starts. We see Nicolas Cage get hurt, and we see the source of his addiction, which immediately humanizes him in a way that we don't get with Harvey Keitel. Like, if Harvey Keitel had a moment in his 20s where he saved some kid because he was an idealistic cop, but then that kid ends up shooting him, and he never ever takes being a cop seriously again, or something like that. So it's almost cheating by Herzog to give us this. Like, absent it, I feel like it paints Cage in a different manner.
Yeah, I say leaving it out would make it more akin to the first movie. But I think what made it delightfully different is that Herzog gave him a reason why he was becoming a bad lieutenant, which we didn't get. We never got answered why for Harvey Keitel. So I think that was a good move for this movie because it sets it apart a little bit. But it's still like, here's another movie about a bad lieutenant. So that's why I think it's fair to say it's a sequel in a way. And an anthology sequel, if you will. Maybe I'll make another bad lieutenant movie someday. Like, that would be a goal of mine. I would like that.
Yeah, that'd actually be interesting. So yeah, they make it clear right away, though, that Nicolas Cage isn't necessarily the best guy. At the very least, he shows that, or he tries to fit in with a bunch of other bad cops. Him and Val Kilmer, which Val Kilmer is great in this, and I didn't know he was still doing stuff in 2009.
Yeah, and he like brought it in this movie. Like, oh, look how good he is in this one. He's a crooked cop, but
when did he
not
lose his voice?
I think that was pretty recent, maybe like in the last like 2 years.
Really?
2 or 3 years. Yeah. But this was 2009, so this was back in his, like, he was a little fatter, little era of bigger Val Kilmer films.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Importantly, though, the way he hurts himself is that there's a prisoner. See, another character in the movie is Katrina.
Yes.
And the Hurricane Katrina, if kids out there remember Hurricane Katrina, it was 2005, and it freaking wiped out a lot of New Orleans, the French Quarter especially, like just flooded the shit out of the place.
Whole place.
So people were homeless. Poverty was just more rampant than ever. It was a bad time. So I think it was pretty cool to set it during that time because it used it as like a way to turn New Orleans into the New York of the original Bad Lieutenant. Like, here's a shitty place and time. We're going to set Nick Cage right in here, and it all makes sense why he's going to have access to drugs and gambling and everything else. Anyway, but they're in the jail.
Jail's in the basement.
Yeah, it's being flooded. Yeah, there's this guy named something Sanchez or Chavez. I think Chavez is his last name. And Nick Cage, even though he's an asshole, he's like, all right, I'm going to dive into the water and save you. He dives in and he apparently hurts his back. So, but you got to remember Chavez. That's important.
And the cops are hanging out and just making jokes. How much do you bet, or how long do you think it'll take for him to drown? Like, that kind of shit.
And Kilmer seriously just wants to leave him there.
Yes.
He's just like, let the morgue handle it. But there's something in Cage that's just like, I need to save this guy's life.
So we cut to the future, 6 months later.
Yeah, something like that.
And he gets promoted for it and becomes a lieutenant.
But he has crippling back problems.
Yes.
And the doctor's like, here's Vicodin. And he's just like, well, how long do I got to take this? And the doctor's like, well, for the rest of your life, most likely.
Yep, forever.
So that like starts it off. He was already an asshole, obviously. I don't think he really had an addiction the way it becomes.
If you think about it, they're so dumb. He basically jumped into the shallow end of a pool from the diving board, and he landed on his feet, and it just, he broke something bad.
But I mean, another good thing about this film, in the way that Abel Ferrara with the first movie, he brought me into like living in this shitty world of Keitel's. I felt that with Nick Cage. Like, I felt like, how would that be living with that chronic back trouble? I understood he needed to take drugs in order to like just feel like he could walk around. It made sense to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it absolutely did. And we see him that the drugs aren't doing the trick, and he's been stealing drugs out of the evidence locker. Is he selling them? I think he's just doing them.
I think he's just mostly doing them, yeah.
So the push of the first movie was gambling and the World Series debt. The push of this movie is him trying to solve a crime.
Well, the big thing, like the first movie with the nun getting raped, in this movie there's a family of illegal immigrants that were apparently selling drugs in this neighborhood, which was run by a guy named Big Fate, played by Xzibit, the rapper, who's pretty good in this.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And it's his territory. So what does he do? He goes and murders the whole family. Little girl, son, mother, wife, grandmother, whoever. But like 5 people just get murdered, like executed in this house. It's horrible, horrible crime. And I don't think there is anything necessarily
in it for him,
devious that he has in mind.
Yeah.
I think it's a hideous crime. So he's just, because that's the thing about the captain in the movie. He knows that Nick Cage is messed up, but he's like his best lieutenant. Like Nick Cage is good at his job, which I don't think Keitel really ever was.
Right. And it seems like, yeah, it's a whole high profile crime that he wants to solve because he wants to be a good cop.
And I think so. But even when he's walking through the crime scene, he finds a hash pipe, or a crack pipe. So he steals that. When he sees drugs, he snatches it.
Yep.
Like, because he's got his demons, that he's dealing with too. So that's the thing that runs throughout is this murder. So it definitely has more of a storyline that connects it than the first movie. But there also is the gambling. There's the gambling on college football.
Yeah, but does he go in over his? He does start to go in over his head on the.
Not anywhere near Keitel's, but he gets in over his head.
Yeah.
To the point where the bookie's pissed off.
Yeah.
And the bookie's played by, what's that guy's name? Brad Dourif. Do you know who that is?
Yes, it's Chucky.
And Chucky from the Child's Play movies. Yeah, he does the voice of Chucky.
Yeah, he's got a very if you look up Brad Dourif, like you will recognize him immediately. Like he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely a character actor I've seen in other stuff. So,
always as kind of a skeezy guy, but in this he wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean he's suitably pissed off because Nick Cage just is getting in over his head and he won't pay anything.
Yes.
Like, you come to me asking me to make another bet for you and you don't bring me anything? Like, even if you had brought me $1,000 is basically what he's saying. Anyway, another big thing is Eva Mendes.
Yeah, she is his hooker who lives...
She's his girlfriend, I would say.
Hooker.
But she is a hooker.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they are...
Well, he doesn't treat her like a prostitute.
No.
He treats her like his girlfriend. She just happens to have that job. But she's like a high-profile escort kind of thing. Like, it seems like it's by appointment.
Yes.
It's not just she's on a
Yeah, she lives
corner,
in a very
corner or
classy
something.
hotel room.
Right. But they do drugs together, too.
And they do drugs together, and they run little scams on her marks together, where he'll show up as a cop and steal the drugs from one of her guys and kick him out. And what's he gonna do?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was visiting this hooker and this cop shook me down.
So they do that to one guy, but the guy's like very connected, I guess, like with real estate and mobsters, and you know who my dad is, that kind of thing. You fucking with me, you made a big mistake. So that comes back to bite him a little later.
Wasn't he a congressman?
His father was connected in politics, so like knew a congressman or something like that. What?
Something.
Yeah, I can't remember the details, but the important thing is that this guy's father was somebody big. So then, because of that, he has these toughs come after him. And Frankie, played by Eva Mendes. The guy with the red jacket, and he's got his 2 boys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are the guys that were sent by this guy whose father was connected. And they want their money, but they want $50,000, even though he only took 10 from that guy. They want 50 for interest.
Yes.
Nick Cage plays it off like he's actually Frankie's pimp. And it's just like, all right, 2 days, I'll get you 50,000 in 2 days. And so he just leaves town with Frankie and takes her to his dad's place, who lives, out in the bayous, just somewhere they won't find him. And he's got his stepmother's there, and she's just kind of a drunk. And his dad is big into AA. He seems like a nice guy, and he knows his son is troubled with drugs and everything, but he's kind of plays it like a nice dad, like he's just trying to help him out. So he takes in his prostitute girlfriend.
Yeah, everybody has their issues, but they're still just real people.
Am I getting ahead at all?
I mean,
I feel like this is fine.
So this murder case is
Where
going nowhere. They arrest the 3 guys they know that did it. Well, no, the big boss turns himself in and lawyers up, and just at the right time, like the way a real criminal probably would if you're big enough.
Makes them look good, like if they come in, oh, this is just a big misunderstanding.
Yep. And so the cops are at a dead end. There's a boy that witnessed the murders.
He was like a delivery boy. He was making a delivery of groceries, and he heard gunshots, so he hid in the closet. So he was clearly a witness. He actually saw Big Fate murdering these people. You know, the congressman is the son of that old lady who was being cared by the woman who was the mother or the grandmother of that kid. Anyway,
yes.
But this is neither here nor there.
There's funny moments where Nick Cage is trying to shake down this grandma to figure out where the boy is. And the second, like, there keeps being this other old lady that is, does the grandma take care of her?
Yeah, the grandmother is her caretaker at this, like, fancy, super fancy New Orleans plantation old folks home, you know? Like, it's for, like, rich old white ladies. And they have basically black servants there is what it felt like. Caretaker, I guess. And I think that's what pisses Cage off, too, is that she's a rich old white lady.
Yeah. She sends the witness away to England to live with her family.
Because he was supposed to be guarding the kid.
Yes.
It was like the DA specifically told him, we have to keep this kid alive, but he's messing with, Frankie's got issues, so he's got to go to Biloxi, Mississippi in order to help Frankie out of a jam. He takes the kid with him. The kid's just long, he's 15, he's just long for this ride. And then he, you know, of course he's like, he goes and tries to score drugs, or he tries to do something, I can't remember. He leaves the kid with Frankie, and the kid just disappears. Like, he's just like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. So the kid's gone. So then they have to look all night for him, and then Nick Cage has to fess up to the DA that he lost him. So he gets in trouble. And the old lady, because he fucks with the old lady trying to find. So then, and her son is a congressman. So now, like, let's do a tally quick. Congressman wants his head for what he did to his mother. Yep. The DA's pissed because he lost the only witness to putting Big Fay behind bars. Yep. He's got back trouble, so he's taking a lot of coke. Yep. Frankie, his girlfriend, has these guys after her, and now him, who want $50,000 that he can't pay, so she's being hidden away. His bookie wants probably around $15,000, something like that.
That sounds about right.
And the bookie was like, okay, I'll do another bet for you, but you got to take care of my niece's parking ticket or something like that. Yep. So, but he tries to get that done, but the cop's a real hard ass, and he won't get it done.
And then we get the best little cameo of Fairuza Balk.
Yeah, right?
And the second I see her on screen, I'm like, where have you been? I've missed you. Like, she hangs out with Nick Cage, asks her out on a date simply to see if she can start supplying him with
because she works in the property room.
Yeah. And then
of the state police.
She tries to bang him, and he has no interest. He just falls asleep. Poor Fairuza Balk.
I don't know. She cares for him. She has that kind of way about her.
Yeah.
So I think she ends up helping him out later anyways, right? Isn't she the one that does it, that takes care of that ticket later?
Oh, I don't know if
that's the funniest scene of the movie, but we'll get to that if you remember. Okay, so so that's where we are. Okay, so because he loses the witness, he gets demoted basically or punished. So what do? They send him to the property room. And one of my most favorite things is it's a shot of Cage while the police chief's telling him this. Now I got to put my best detective into the property room. And it's just a flicker, but Cage's eyes go wide, like just for a moment where he's just like, yes. And then he like quickly is like, oh yeah, that's shitty, you know. But it's such a great little performance by him just in like 2 seconds. It's really funny.
Yeah, because
that's exactly what he wants.
All the cops know how to steal from the property room.
Yeah.
Or at least Nick Cage does, and he always tries to explain it to people like he's a genius for figuring it out.
Right. Michael Shannon is in it. He works in the property room. That was
a weird little blip.
Yeah, he wasn't so famous, and so that was just a small role for him, I think.
Yeah.
It was before Man of Steel, you know. Even before Boardwalk Empire, I think. So, yeah.
I love this movie because they set this up, I think, pretty much starting now, but you don't see the ending of the film coming.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Herzog, this is where these two movies go hand in hand again, where without the other, you can't appreciate them as fully, because you expect a similar ending with this movie because of the first movie.
Yeah, like it'll be grim.
Yeah.
But I think once he gets pushed into the property room is when he goes full on Bad Lieutenant, right? So he turns over to the dark side. So he goes straight to Big Fate and offers to be his informant in the police if he can have a cut.
And supply
So then he's like working for the bad guys.
Yes, he goes into business with the bad guys.
So they're like, well, what about the murder? And he's like, fuck him. I never cared about that family that got killed. You know, like it's pretty bad now.
I don't know. I kind of think it's not spelled out, but I interpreted it as this was more of a plan than him going full bad lieutenant.
Well, what were you saying just a moment ago? Like, you didn't see the ending coming?
No.
So I thought you were meaning how you didn't realize he was basically setting Big Fate up the whole time.
Right. Like, I feel like he's setting him up.
Did you realize that he was doing that?
No, I did not.
So you felt like that right when he started doing it?
Like, I felt like he was going full bad lieutenant.
Oh, you did? Okay, gotcha.
Yes. But I don't think he really was. I think it was.
But it turns out, spoiler.
Yes.
Yeah. But
so he goes into business with.
Or did he just at that moment realize, oh, I can actually set him up if I have him smoke this crack pipe? I don't know. That's what's kind of left up for an interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah. They go into business, and he's barking orders at him, and he's pushing it with these bad guys. I don't know if they did anything interesting before the next step of this plan occurs, but the red-suited guy and his two thugs, who he owes the $50,000 to because of his girlfriend, show up when him and... I could never think of the name of the bad guy.
Big Fate. Are having a meeting. And Nick Cage is in the middle of stealing or taking his cut of heroin. Yep.
And these guys walk in and they're like, where's our money? Nick Cage gives them the bag of heroin.
I think he said it's worth like 10 times that.
Yeah. And they decide to take the entire bag of heroin. Big Fate's portion as well.
Clearly don't realize who they're messing with because Big Fate is like the big dude in this territory, you know?
Yes. And so Big Fate kills those guys.
Yeah, just shoots them all.
Yes. And him and Nick Cage.
One of those great scenes where he is like, shoot him again. He's like, why? His soul is still dancing. And then they get to this bizarre harmonica scene where the soul of the red suited guy is just like spinning around and doing all kinds of breakdancing. It's so bizarre.
It was amazing. I loved that scene.
Yeah,
like I
you loved
forgot
it?
about the surrealism of this movie until.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I mentioned at the very beginning is the lizard cam. And I think that what was big about it is that it was 2005. So tiny GoPro cameras weren't really in style just yet. So to put a small camera on something and actually put it in a feature film is something not many people had really seen. So sometimes you see these iguanas in the movie. I think the first time you see it, it's a crocodile, which is on the side of the road of an auto accident. And the camera is like right on the crocodile. And it's just this weird little
It made me sad.
scene cutter.
Like,
Yeah.
did you put that together? Like, that car accident was...
You think that's the wife of the crocodile that died?
Yes!
Or the baby? Yeah, it might have been.
Somebody hit a crocodile and rolled their car, and that's where Nick Cage goes to try to get his bookie's kids' parking tickets settled, or speeding tickets.
Yes, right.
But so the scene ends, and we clearly see this crocodile who got hit, just like a deer up north. The scene ends, and we go over, and there's another crocodile on the side of the road. And it's just this beautiful thing where it's like, that's my husband, he's dead now. And
I'm thinking it's its baby.
Or a mother.
It was like a
baby.
tiny crocodile.
And,
yeah. I never thought about it that way. I was just fascinated with the camera work because it's this tiny little pen camera, basically, that they put on this thing. And then later when they're staking out one of Big Fate's place and Val Kilmer's in the scene, Nick Cage is high as fuck and he comes in and he's just like, what's with the iguanas? And they're like, because there's clearly two iguanas at a table. And Val Kilmer's like, there ain't no iguana. What do you call these? And he's just like, there's no iguana. Like, he's seeing iguanas now.
And they just blow it off.
And then the camera, and they just blow, and the camera cuts to the iguana's point of view, and it's this weird camera shot, and Nick Cage has got this stupid grin on his face, and it goes on forever. It's just so funny. It's so bizarre.
And see, like, I think that's where I don't think I could ever be a good filmmaker. I don't see the shots that you see. Like, I just see the story being told, and I have a hard time. Like, I have to really, really focus to pay attention to the composition of the scene.
I see those things when I write movies and when I like put them together in my head and how I want to make it. But when I'm on set and I have so much responsibility, I unfortunately forget to do anything remotely as cool as that, even though it was in my head when I was writing it. But you're so inundated with trying to get the shot that I wish I would do more cooler stuff. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Okay, so Nick Cage, he smokes crack with Big Fate?
Yep.
With Big Fate, and they use the same pipe, okay? And then we have his girlfriend, Eva Mendes. She goes into recovery because of Nick Cage's father. And so they healed together.
Yeah, very cool. I was so happy for her.
Yeah.
when he comes and he's got coke, and she's like, I've been talking to your dad, and I really think I'm gonna go to rehab with him, or to meetings with him, to start with. But then she goes straight up rehab after that, but he's supportive. He's like, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Because at no point is he bad. He actually really likes her a lot, and he goes out of his way for her, doing bad stuff, but he's got good intentions.
We didn't mention where he was shaking down this young couple earlier in the movie to try to get their drugs, and then because the girlfriend doesn't want her to get in trouble, she ends up like giving him a hand job, like right in front of the boyfriend, right outside the car. It's clearly that scene from Bad Lieutenant with Keitel and the two girls, but they take it one step farther, where I think he actually starts having sex with her, and the boyfriend's just like, I gotta get out of here, but he fires his gun in the air, and he's like, you watch me have sex with your girlfriend. Like, it's so funny. Like, that's a Bad Lieutenant.
That is a bad lieutenant, yeah. But
anyway, so he's doing bad stuff. You just can't help but want Nick Cage to find a way to, become victorious in this movie.
So he goes to work, and who's sitting there waiting for him? But Eva Mendes is the guy who hired the red shirts.
Yeah, the original dude that got pissed off. It was like, you know who my dad is? Yeah.
Yeah. And so because Big Fate killed those guys, he goes and he's like, it's all done. Okay, we've canceled the investigation.
Yep.
Like, I'm out of here. You'll never hear from me again.
This is my favorite part of the movie, this little scene. Then the bookie follows that guy. Like, this is the same scene, just at his desk. So that problem's taken care of. The bookie follows, because Nick Cage made one more bet, but thought that the game was lost, because he actually ran into one of the running backs who was buying drugs.
Another Bad Lieutenant
So he was
moment.
using him. Exactly. He was like, if you lose the game for me, I'll forget about you buying drugs. But the kid kind of takes him out. He takes himself out of the game, so he doesn't do it. So Nick Cage thinks he's just fucked. He's just lost more money. But the bookie comes in to say, like, no, you obviously didn't watch the end of the game. They came back and won it. Here's your money. Here's something a little extra. I love you, man. You're the greatest. And then he's like, oh, and my niece's parking ticket, all taken care of. Somebody took care of it for me. Thanks, you're the best. And then he leaves. And then because he had Big Fate smoke that crack pipe, he went and planted that evidence with his DNA on it back at the murder scene of that family. Told the cops to go look again. They found the crack pipes. So all of a sudden the chief comes in like, hey, look at this. We got his DNA. You're doing a great job. It's the most amazing scene because it's so funny. It almost feels like it's Nick Cage's dream, but it's reality. And all of his problems are like solved in that moment. Most of his problems.
Like, they put such a neat little bow on every hanging thread. They pulled a Godfather.
Yeah.
He Godfathered his way out of the situation. Like,
yeah, isn't that funny?
Everything resolved perfectly, and it's up to the viewer to determine if Nick Cage did it on purpose or if it was just wonderful dumb luck.
It's probably dumb luck for the most part. But then they go to arrest Big Fate. And, Big Fate is trying to tell, like, Terrence, what are you doing? What are you doing? His name is Terrence, by the way. I don't know if I've ever said that. Terrence, what are you doing? I thought we had a thing going here. But, Val Kilmer just wants to kill Big Fate. He's just like, because all the cops go out and round up all the evidence. So it's just Terrence and Val Kilmer's character. And Kilmer's like, no, he's going to grab for the gun. We'll shoot him. We'll wrap it up nice. But Terrence is like, it's the one thing you won't do is let somebody die, I guess. Inappropriately, kind of like the guy at the beginning with the prison. Like, he's just like, Val Kilmer's just wants him dead. It's less paperwork that way.
Yeah, he's a bad cop.
But they just handcuff him, and apparently they take him away.
Yeah.
And is then it here where we cut like a year and a half?
Yeah.
Or a year?
We cut to, I think it was just 6 months later.
I think it was a year later at this point.
Maybe. I don't remember. But we've got Nick Cage, who seems to be clean. We've got Eva Mendes, pregnant, no longer hooking, we assume. Mm-hmm. And it looks like his dad's cleaned up.
She's clean.
Seems like a good, happy.
Yep. And even the mother-in-law, who was just drunk on beer all the time, she seems pretty pulled together at this point, too. Because the waiter comes over to their table after where he gets promoted to captain. That was the award ceremony.
Yes.
And they're like, would you like any wine or champagne? And he's just like, we're all just having sparkling water, thank you. So it looks like they're all just one happy family now, and they're all clean.
Jennifer Coolidge, by the way, who's not my favorite, but she was actually pretty good in this movie.
Yeah, she was good in this movie.
That's the mother-in-law.
Oh, yeah, see, I'm glad I brought up that earlier one up, because then we think everything's fine with him, but it's not that easy for
wait, that's before
addict.
the flash forward, isn't it?
No, that's right after when he gets awarded the captain,
Okay.
and you think everybody's doing fine now. He drops her off at home, and I'm gonna, once the baby's born, I'm going to stop working nights, and they're all good. And then he goes and reenacts basically that scene where he shakes down a girlfriend and boyfriend. So he's clearly hasn't kicked the habit. And then we see him at a hotel doing coke, and a bellboy comes in. Is bellboy? Something like that. With food service.
Yes.
Room service. And who is it but Chavez, I believe is his name, the guy he rescued from the New Orleans jail who would have been drowned.
Yes.
Where he hurt himself. And the guy just says, holy fuck, it's you. You saved my life. And he goes, that set me on a good course. I've been clean for a year now. And he can see that Nick Cage is struggling. And he's just like, I want to take you out of here. I want to help you. And then the whole thing wraps up with them sitting at an aquarium. I don't know why, but he asks, do fish have dreams? Is what Nick Cage asks, and that's how the movie ends. But when he was at I believe when he was at the apartment where that family was murdered, he read a poem by the little girl, and she asks, do fish have dreams? Or it was the name of the poem. But that's how it tied back to, that's why he asked that.
Okay, that makes sense.
It actually ends with him like looking at the camera, both of them, and he just kind of laughs. So it ends on like a good, like they defeat the curse of Bad Lieutenant by giving Nick Cage basically a happy ending at the end.
Yes, this movie ends with a great happy ending, and it's awesome, and it was a great ride. Like, I loved every little piece of this movie. I give it 4.5 stars.
I give it 5 stars.
Oh,
why would you
I'm
give it
very picky about stars. The title itself is enough to take away half a star.
Oh, yeah, right.
But yes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, if this movie was called The Bad Lieutenant, I feel like it would have been even bigger hit. This movie had a budget of $25 million. It made 10.
So, yeah, it did not do well.
With like stronger reviews than the original.
But it did well with critics. It won an award at the was it the Venice Film Festival?
Yeah. It got nominated for the Gold Lion.
Yeah, and ironically or coincidentally, Abel Ferreira had a movie at that same competition that like everybody gave horrible reviews to and didn't give a shit about. So that may have been what made him mad. I don't know, but maybe he did say all that about I wish they die even before the movie was made.
I know.
So maybe he did.
It'd be funny if those reactions were after he had seen the film and saw that.
Yeah, right. But he did say that him and Herzog ended up meeting years later, and he said it's just water under the bridge. They both liked each other, and they both didn't have any problem after that.
Yeah. In the 2018 International Film Festival, Ferrer said that had eventually met Herzog and made peace with him.
Yeah, there you go.
Werner Herzog.
So we're all good.
How do you think he directs? Okay, Nicolas, it's time for you to blow the cocaine into your nose.
Well, you've seen him in The Mandalorian.
Yes.
That's what he does. He's that guy telling you what to do on set.
Ava, look a little prettier. I can't think of anything for Ava.
He's been in a lot of his own documentaries. You get a good idea of who he is as a person, and he's a cool guy. I mean, I really like him.
Nicolas, pick up the sheet and look disgusted at the dead family.
Cage is just unhinged in this movie. It's a great performance for him.
It's a great performance from Nick Cage, and I'm the guy that can't always tell when somebody's a good actor or not. And
yeah,
this is a great, just all around Nick Cage performance. I wish we're getting that more now, like now that he's trying again. But we get weird Nick Cage is what we're basically settled with forever.
The most recent thing about him is that somehow came up, and he said he didn't like to be referred to as an actor. He liked to be referred to as a thespian.
Oh. But he's also doing the Johnny Depp thing where as he gets old, he's trying to hang on to his Nick Cage looks, and he starts just looking faker and faker.
Sometimes. John Travolta always got a lot of shit for the fake hair and everything.
At least he's bald now, yeah.
Yeah, nobody really is rough with Nick Cage about that. We don't care.
And I think Nick Cage has had more public outbursts lately. I think his real life is similar to The Bad Lieutenant.
I think so too. Like he married, Elvis's daughter for a while, and yes. He has a pyramid where he's going to be buried. Yeah, he has a pyramid where he's going to be buried in a pyramid someday. The thing I remember most about marrying Elvis's daughter, I can't remember her name, is that he's a huge Elvis fan. Like, he just has this obsession with Elvis, so it just was weird that he, like, I gotta marry your daughter. But he also he's a huge comic fan, and he had an enormous comic book collection, and apparently one of the things that ended that relationship is that she made him sell it or get rid of it in some fashion, and it really made him sad that he did it.
Yeah. But that, ladies
it.
and gentlemen, was Bad Lieutenant. What do you call the two dots again?
Colon.
Yeah, because the other one's the semicolon. Okay. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, or New Orleans, or New Orleans.
Nolans.
Nolans. Really good
Nolans.
movies. I recommend you go and see them.
It's a good time.
It is.
First date kind of movies, I would say.
I think this is a great
Like, if you have a first date, you should definitely watch the Keitel movie.
That's going to let you know if you guys are going to last. Right there. That's the relationship test.
Right. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Need everybody to follow us and review us. Give us a review on your favorite podcast app. Tell your grandma about us. Your grandma's gonna fucking love us. And, as always, the sun is a deadly laser.